Hi friends, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to discuss on social media and the negative effects that it is having on all of us, and especially the people who are between the age group of 18 to 24, and what we can do, what activities we can do to restrict our activities on social media and be able to make presence, make use of all the advantages that comes with these digital platforms, but also we should not let the disadvantages or the demerits reach us in any way. See, social media is basically used by people so that they can reconnect with their old friends, or they can make new connections without actually meeting those people. And it has proved to be very beneficial in the areas of networking, connectivity, and also staying in touch with your relatives, friends who are maybe not in the same city, not working with you anymore in the same organization, or even they are beyond the borders of your nation. They may be, staying somewhere abroad. And as you know, with privatization and liberalization and globalization, what happened is that the doors of the nations were open for each other. The national boundaries were no longer constrained for, whether it is intellectual labor or manual labor to move around. As you must know that people say that most of the doctors, engineers that are working in US, UK are from India, and also many people who are like the architects or builders in Saudi Arabia or Dubai are there also from India. So what happens when people move beyond these national borders? Then they feel an urge to connect with their loved ones, who are across the borders. Social media has given them that opportunity to connect with their loved ones over, which are across the borders. So the advantages are too many. So that is why everybody we know, almost 70% of you can say the country's population. See, apart from the advantages that come with social media, there come some disadvantages as well. That we are putting too much of information on the virtual space, and we are losing our privacy, and information spreads faster through social network sites than through real life network. Social network sites have financial incentives to generate revenue from the information users upload. So we can also say that the data is being leaked. Just a couple of days back, one of the sites, I think some educational site, was hacked. I'm not going to take the name, but some 2 crore users information was leaked, and as of today, you can say that data is the most expensive resource that we have, and it is being shared on the social media platforms, and it might prove to be a threat or security concern of some. There can be some disadvantages of social media, and they can be a barrier between social and personal relationships. It can hamper the confidence of an individual in real life, and it also enables individuals to commit crimes online, or it might be some sort of harassment online, and it also affects the studies and personal life. Apart from some of the disadvantages which I just mentioned, there are some health hazards also associated with abuse of social media, because as they say that excess of anything is bad, and we can say that it is important for us to be present on social media, but we need to restrict the time we spend there. The health issues caused by social media may be sleep. There will be irregular sleep patterns. A Swedish study has also found that depression is another health symptom, and then isolation or eating disorder. The biggest issue or the biggest disease that has come to the forefront is FOMO, which says that fear of missing out. Because of this fear, many people who wanted to actually remove themselves from social media were forced to make their presence on social media because they fear of being out of the loop or not getting some important information or opportunity which might be circulated on social media made them make their presence in spite of the fact that it was threatening them in some way or the other, or they were finding it detrimental to their health issues and also privacy concerns, only because of the fear of missing out and catching up with whatever is happening. They were able to make their presence online and be there in spite of their wishes. So there is one question that comes to my mind here. Has social networking influenced your education in a bad way? If so, how? Well, one of the problems seems to be multitasking because these days students have become addicted to these sites while attempting to study at the same time, and this ends up in reducing their academic performance and their ability to concentrate on a task because of distractions brought by social media. They end up spending too much time and wasting it on unnecessary social networking sites rather than doing their homework. They tend not to be prepared for the class and instead take time and try deeper analyze the task. They are just rushing through the task given. Reduction in real life contact, students' ability to communicate face to face has been affected. They forget how to communicate with each other in person. They are not able to collaborate in discussions, and this reduces their communication skills. Also, it has a detrimental impact on the health, like we discussed before. A student's learning and communication skills can also be affected by digital technologies. Now the question comes that how much time do we spend on social networking sites, and how much time do we spend on our cell phones, the screen time. I'm sure now these days even the phones are able to tell you with a message that this day you spent 4 hours on your mobile, or last week your time was only 2 hours and this week you have spent like 3 hours on social media. So your phone is also able to give you these inputs, and then you feel after you see that, oh my god, I spent 2 hours of my day on social media, oh my god, what a wastage. So then these regrets don't work if you keep continuing these activities and you're unable to put a cap on them. Almost 58% on an average don't go 1 hour without checking their phones, so we are addicted to checking our phones. Some other negative effects of digital gadgets include reduced learning, addiction and distraction, poor grammar, dependency on spell check features, and what happens is that it reduces the student's ability to write without relying on a spell check feature. All right. Now we have established that there are plenty of reasons for us to reduce the time that we spend on social media. So I would just like to share a couple of tips with you how we can do that. We can track our time to make sure you're not wasting any time. We can limit our social site accounts, and also we can prioritize social media, or we can say our cell phones, our text message, WhatsApp. They are taking up a certain percentage of time from our daily schedules, and we have to make sure that we take advantage of our presence on these digital platforms without letting them affect us negatively. Like, I'll share with you a few of my personal tips which I use to keep myself safe from wasting a lot of time on social media, and simultaneously making enough presence for everybody to notice me on social media. The one thing I do is when I'm taking classes or I'm engaging in some work which is related to my office, I don't take my phone along from when I go from my cabin to the classroom. I usually don't carry my phone, and because it feels very disturbing if there are some notifications coming in. And as a human tendency, what happens is that we are compelled to check the notifications. So in order to avoid that situation in my classroom, I avoid taking my phone to the class. I leave it in my cabin. Then sometimes I go for walks in the evening, so I just leave my phone behind. Like whatever calls, messages or texts or notifications are there, I'll come back and check. I need 1 hour to myself, and I try to avoid carrying my phone for my walks. Apart from that, I always put them on silent when I'm going to sleep, because I do not want it to mess with my sleep patterns. Another thing, another tip which I use is I restrict my timings of using the social media. What I do is I have decided that in the evening, once I return from my work, I'm going to spend half an hour on it. Because see, we should not make very rigid plans that no, I'll not check it at all. Your plan should always be flexible, because we don't want to take the joy out of the social media platforms that we are giving, of connecting and seeing everybody's post, what's going on with your friends and colleagues. So I keep that flexible to myself, that I check it half an hour in the evening. Sometimes I check it at night before sleeping half an hour. So what I do is I restrict my activities. I put a cap on it, that only half an hour in the evening, half an hour at night I'm going to spend on social media. Other times I'm going to simply avoid it and concentrate on more important tasks at hand. Another thing I do, like, from the previous 2 months lockdown has been going on, so it is a different story right now. But on a normal working day, what I do is I try to avoid using social media during the office hours, and that really helps me to prioritize and place importance on my task and not end up wasting any time on Facebook, or you can say Twitter, Instagram. I try to avoid using it in the office hours. So what happens, because see, everybody is present on your social media, and in case you're using it in the office hours, it is very easy for your bosses to know about it, and I'm sure you don't want that situation to arise, having to explain yourself. So that one thing we can prioritize. And apart from that, we have to know that everything in moderation is good. All right. And when we do excess of anything, it comes back to us, and it has a detrimental effect, maybe on our social communications, real life communications. It can be on our health. So we have to be very careful when we are going about in the social media, trying to communicate with our friends. Because see, without it, there is no survival. Social media is the future. You have to be present on it, and it also helps you with networking. And as we know, apart from having all the basic skills, the individuals who have achieved excellence and success are usually the ones with the best networking contacts, and that comes in very helpful when you are present on the social media. Then apart from that, if you talk about my profession is being a teacher, so I love to be connected with my students and see what accomplishments they are making on a daily basis. It gives me motivation to work harder. But on the same time, I am in touch with my teachers as well, who were my pre-primary teachers, my mid-school teachers, because they made me who I am today, and I want to be in touch with them. So you think we have contacts of different age groups, different people who are very important to us, and we would love to stay connected to them. But the problem is that if this activity of social media is not carried out in moderation, it may prove to be a problem for you in the future. And sometimes too much of dependence on technology is not good. Like I just discussed the spell check feature, because what happens then, you're writing wrong spellings if you're given a pen and paper and not allowed to write on your phone, or not allowed to check your phone, then you end up writing the wrong spellings, and this happens because of the spell check feature. and we are all getting accustomed to using it for checking our spellings instead of remembering the correct spelling in the right place. Then another thing that we are using it for, like the GPS, we can't do without our phone. So once in a while we can just not take our phone and find our own way around, like in old times. And I hope that I have been able to provide you some assistance on the ways that we can reduce or restrict our social media use, and can take advantage of all the benefits, but don't let any kind of demerits or health hazards reach you. And also we need to get over the FOMO, that is fear of missing out, because that is one reason which leads to hyperactivity on the social media. So it's better to avoid that.